Hi Beanie, we're gonna make a little video about the cable railing. What do you think about that? That sounds like a good idea. All right, welcome to the video. I'm gonna go through some tips and tricks on the Muzata 1/8 inch invisible cable railing. We'll go through some of the proper tools, couple little gotchas I ran into, and the materials, and hoping that sharing this knowledge will help your installation go smoother, or help you decide if you'd like to do this yourself. All right, here's sort of the finished product. I think it looks really great. We used to have a wrought iron railing that was very 80s, and we redid the stairs and had the wood floor guy do these posts and this bonded top railing. This is actually red oak that has been bleached and then hand scraped, so it's got like a really nice natural look. Here's the going downstairs, and here's towards the upper kitchen. It's very modern looking, and level of difficulty I would say on this installing the cable is like advanced. I think the you know, the main thing that could go wrong is if you really mess up one of these holes. I don't know how you're going to recover from that, like making it too big, or if it rips out when you're doing the insert. That's just not going to be, you know, you might have to redo it. So if you can drill your holes before you install, that might be nice. All right, let's go through the materials. So the way this works is you've got your cable. You're gonna make a nice clean cut with your wire cutters. You definitely need to stabilize that on something, and then when you cut it, and then you're gonna put the washer on. You're gonna put a little piece of this red sticky stuff on there. That's gonna go towards your insert, because that sticks on the wall. And then you're gonna put your insert on, and then you're gonna put your swage on there with a little bit of stuff sticking out, and then you'll use the swage on there. And you might want to make yourself a little sticky note on the order operations there, because I did this one backwards a couple times, and then you basically have to start completely over, and it kind of sucks if you're on the second end. As far as the tools that you're going to need, for working with the wire, you're going to want a real pair of wire cutters. A pair of like pliers or regular wire cutters won't make a nice clean cut, and you'll end up like fraying the material instead of getting a nice clean cut. And you need this to actually get onto the swage end. Let's see, another item you're going to need is the tensioner for the inserts. So in this case, there's the tensioner has like 2 squared off ends, and then there's a little channel here, so that goes together like that, and that's gonna tighten up based on these lag threads when you screw it in. Couple gotchas on this tool. I had my first one that I got was the wrong size, so that's definitely a gotcha. Make sure you're getting the proper size when you order. And then I actually had it break off, and I recovered from that with using an angle grinder to cut it off and grind it down. But really what you want to do probably is maybe get 3 or 4 of them, return them if you don't use them. But the metal that it's made out of is not great. I think it's maybe cast or something. So that broke, like when you're really cranking down on it. Like this oak has quite a bit of friction. that I had to get around. You're going to need a drill hole guide. So this is the 30-degree one. Essentially, I would just clamp it on with a clamp, and then if a couple places I had a wall, so I couldn't do that, so I used some Gorilla Tape to stick it on there, and then I had someone hold it in position as well, and that seemed to work okay. But what you're after is really for helping do this 30-degree angle, is what this is really helpful for. And then you're going to need a proper swager. So swage works by compressing the little swage in metal a certain amount, and that's what gives it its strength. So you need like the proper size little vise here, and then this is like a little hydraulic piston that does the compression. You could probably maybe rent a swager or get one from a tool library, but this is, I would say, an essential tool for working with the cable and the swaging. And then the drill bits, I think they said the size you need is like a 7/16, which is not a common drill bit that you're gonna find at Home Depot necessarily, or in like a drill bit kit. I think, so I found the 7/16 inch Diablo speed tip, which did not work that well, so I don't recommend that one. What worked best for me was a brad tip, which has like these little extra teeth on it to make a nice clean cut in the hole. I don't think you're gonna get a satisfactory result with just like, you know, your cheap bits from, you know, a multi-set, or even this paddle blade I think rips the kind of edge too much. But I would definitely spend some extra money on a really nice drill bit and test that out, that works well for you. When you drill your holes, you got to account for obviously the swage plus the insert, but then tightening and getting slack out. So really you need to be going, you know, probably double the length of this insert. So something like depth like that, to make sure that you have enough room in the hole to tighten this down. And then this little guy just kind of covers up whatever has happened. And I definitely ran into a couple holes that I didn't make deep enough, or where there was just a lot of friction, so I had to remove this and kind of re-drill it. And in some cases, you know, kind of try and get a little extra slack in the diameter of the hole. But overall, I would say my main issue was when measuring the length of the cable is really important, so that as you're taking the slack out and the depth of the hole, that everything is, you know, kind of a precise operation. And I was kind of doing each one individually, and was going to do it again. I would get one the exact right length, take it out and measure it, and use that as like my template for the other ones, because you're going to do enough of them that doing each one kind of guessing and measuring is going to lead to mistakes. One tip, if when you're cutting it, it starts spraying like this, is you can use a little piece of masking tape wherever you want to cut it, which is also nice for marking. When you measure your length, you can mark on the tape. And then when you use the tool, you want to make sure that you're not coming in at any kind of angle. You want it to be sort of 90-degree cut like that. Helps to stabilize it on something. And then you cut it like so. And that makes a nice clean cut. You might have to twist that a little bit. And then demonstrate the swaging. Typical process here was you put the washer on, sticky side away from your insert. Your insert goes in like this, because your tightening tool is going to come onto here, like this, when that's in the hole. And then you're going to get your swage end. It helps if you rotate in the direction of the twist. You want to have your wire sticking out a tiny bit right there, not inside, because that'll affect the strength. Go with on your swaging tool. Actually found it helpful to just compress it a little bit before the swaging. And then you want to have this all basically a nice little in the clamp there. And then once you're tightening down on there, you just do like so until these are touching. Click off, and there you go. That one was maybe not my best one, because those really shouldn't be squeezing out like that. So I would probably redo this one. So I was going for like 4-inch between these, but if you think about how triangles work, these ended up more like 3.5, which I think is okay, because if you have a little bit of stretch, you're gonna, make sure that you've got the 4 inches. So I would recommend not trying to make it exactly to which building code is, but make it a little bit shorter distances. But when you're planning it out, think about geometry and how triangles work. So I think that actually worked in my favor there. All right, so I'm gonna go through a couple of things that happened so that hopefully you can avoid as best you can. So one is, you can see right here that a little chunk of wood, when I drilled the hole, came out. So I just filled that in with a little bit of wood putty. And like when I drilled the hole, I put a piece of masking tape here. I was as careful as possible, but that's just the nature of working with wood, is that might happen. So another thing that's probably going to happen to you is, if you don't, let me show you from, if you don't get your insert in the entire way, this will not sit flush. And that is like, it's kind of subtle. I think if you didn't install it, you won't notice that necessarily. But basically this, the friction on this one was basically breaking the tool to try and tighten it further. And I tried taking it out and drilling it again, but I was concerned about the integrity of the wood here. So I ended up leaving this one. And what I'm gonna do is just put a teeny bit of clear silicone on there, behind there, so that it remains flat, because if it's like sticking out like that, it looks kind of janky. But I think if it'll be a little more subtle if it's just like that. So let's, per the first comment about the drilling the holes the right depth, that will definitely help you. And then, I would make a plan here of how you're gonna make sure that you address all your code issues. So I believe it's 4 inches in between these. So these are like 3.5, and then they have a little bit of, so these are like 3.5, but they have a little, that one's not tight enough. So there's a little bit of, change in that dimension there. So, hello. would you like to help us? So the main thing with code obviously is that you don't want animals or small children accidentally falling through the railing. And in my case, actually, I really probably need to do an additional one right here, because this space right here is not to code. And basically the one thing I ran into with my materials was they sent me different sizes of these washers. So double check that when you get yours. I don't think anyone but me is gonna notice. And then this is a good example of if that's not totally flush, then that won't stick on there, but it's not really a big deal. Doesn't affect the function, and is, you know, sort of just an aesthetic thing that probably only the installer of it will notice. All right, so they sell a special bit for drilling all the way through a post, which I bought, and it was terrible. Basically, I did not come out on the hole that I marked on the other side, and then it kind of melted down after like 3 holes. So I actually did just fine. Drill from this side, try and keep it level. Drill from that side, try and keep it level. And that's what I ended up doing after I realized it wasn't really helping. So don't waste your money on that. Thanks for checking out my video on the Muzata 1/8" invisible cable railing in an interior home. Please like or leave a comment.